Then let U.S. Bull.
It was easy, it was quick.
RK Subaru does it right with year-end pricing and 0% financing. New 2021 Subaru Outbacks with 0% financing for 63 months. New 2021 Subaru Crosstrek with 0.9% financing for 48 months. And you get RK coverage, no charge, during the Subaru Share the Love event.
Family owned and operated since 1982.
RK Subaru does it right.
RK Subaru of Vineland.
This is Ron Jaworski. I want to invite everyone to rediscover the excellence and diversity of my 6 championship golf courses. You know what first attracted me to the game of golf? It's the precision it requires at every level. At Ron Jaworski Golf, everything we do centers around you. It's the small touches that make golf so special. That's what drew me in years ago and forever shapes the way I feel about the game. Come enjoy our amazing signature golf courses or go to ronjaworskigolf.com.
Hut, hut.
I always said it's like family here.
RK Chevrolet does it right with the Chevy employee discount for everyone. The Chevy price you pay is what we pay, not a cent more. New 2020 Silverados up to $8,465 below MSRP. New 2020 Equinox $27,900. $27,900. And every new RK Chevrolet comes with RK coverage, no charge.
Family owned and operated since 1982.
RK Chevrolet does it
Right.
RK Chevrolet of Vineland.
About her free range eggnog.
I raised the chickens myself.
And just
Home of the Ron Jaworski Show, Wednesdays at 6 p.m.
Plug in.
97.5 The Fanatic, Philadelphia. Week 14 in the NFL is upon us, and the Birds remain in third place in the dreadful NFC East. With just 4 games remaining on the schedule, the Eagles only have an 18% chance to make the postseason. It doesn't get any easier on the Birds as the 10-2 Saints are in town this Sunday. We're talking Eagles football, and this is the Ron Jaworski Show. Now, here's your host, Ron Jaworski.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Ron Jaworski Show. And oh my, this is going to be a wild show tonight. You do not want to miss it. In a few moments, I'll be joined by Sal Paolantonio, and we will break down what is going on with our Philadelphia Eagles. And we are coming to you live from 7 Tap Tavern at the Ramblewood Country Club. And, of course, a very special thanks to our sponsors, Bradford White Water Heaters, Carl Pinto, and all the fine folks at Bradford White. They are amazing. Bradford White Water Heaters, built to be the very best. And a special thanks to my friends at Miller Lite, Mark Kramer, Brandon Dalton, Kramer Beverage. They are joining us here live at 7 Tap Tavern tonight. Guys, good to see you, and thanks for the amazing support you have given this show through the years. And I'm joined by Coffee Jones. Coffee's my assistant, helps with my film study, analytics, you name it. He gives me all that good scoop that I always say give to you folks there on Ron Jaworski Show. Coffee, how you doing, man? All good.
I wish the Eagles were better.
You know, I didn't. We'll get to, we'll get to that, Coffee. How are you doing?
I'm good.
All right. That's the important thing right now. I don't know if the Eagles are good, but we'll get to them shortly. But Sal Paolantonio is going to be joining me in the first segment of the show. After that segment, I'll be joined by Jeremy Maclin, wide receiver from the Philadelphia Eagles, their first-round pick in 2009. We'll break down this receiving core of the Philadelphia Eagles. So we've got a lot of good football coming your way tonight. But first and foremost, let me bring in the guy who had some breaking news again today. I saw his piece on SportsCenter about the change to Jalen Hurts from Carson Wentz. And Sal Pal, welcome to the show once again, my friend. How are you?
Guys, I miss you guys, Jaws. How is everybody?
Sal, we are doing great. Unfortunately, our Philadelphia Eagles are not. But I know you've been all over this story with Jalen Hurts now the starting quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles. You had an excellent piece on SportsCenter. I saw it just moments ago. Keep up the great work. But is this as crazy as it can get when you got this turmoil going on with the football team? Do you remember ever anything like this?
You know, I don't. It's much different than when Donovan McNabb was benched in 2008. It's much different than all the quarterback controversies, even going back to when you were the quarterback. And you know, I know that's a painful memory.
No, it's not. It's not. I gave up my job to Randall Cunningham. You know, it's just part of the process. Didn't like it.
Yeah, I know it wasn't easy.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say maybe painful is the wrong word, but it certainly was a challenge for you. And you know, I just think that this is different from just about any quarterback situation that I've seen in Philadelphia, and it's pretty messy. It's about as messy as it gets.
Why messy, Sal? That's a strong word.
Well, because I think one, it took forever for Doug Peterson to make this decision when it was obvious to everybody that it needed to be made. It took two very serious meetings after the loss to the Seattle Seahawks on Monday night. One was nearly unprecedented. I've covered the league going on almost 30 years, and I've never heard of a quarterback standing up in front of the team meeting and apologizing in the way that emotionally Carson Wentz apparently did to the team. And then that was followed up by team leaders meeting with Wentz and Doug Peterson. And so when you have a team that is dedicating so much time, effort, and emotion, psychological energy and physical energy into dealing with a quarterback controversy within its own building, that's pretty messy. I think that was a wake-up call to everybody in the organization, that you would have team meeting after team meeting and discussion after discussion to try to hash this out. This is a decision that needed to be made rather quickly and decisively by the management of the team, including the head coach. And it wasn't done to the point where team leaders had to almost intervene and say, hey, we need accountability at every single position, including the quarterback position.
Yeah.
You know, so when I use the word messy, I'm not doing it lightly. It was pretty messy.
Sal, from your investigation, who called this meeting? Who wanted Carson Wentz to stand up in front of the team and talk to them about his shortcomings? Was it his idea?
If you listen to Doug Peterson's comments, Doug Peterson congratulated Carson for apologizing to the team and said it was part of the growth that he has seen in him. And he said, quote, it's part of what I have talked to him about, our conversations together. So it sounds like it was Carson's idea after talking to Doug continually about his personal growth as a quarterback and taking ownership for the leadership of the team. So I think it was Carson Wentz after having many discussions with Doug. And again, that's pretty unprecedented, you know, considering that Carson Wentz is a 5-year veteran and he's been the leader of the team at least for the last couple of years. I mean, in April, it was in June of 2019 when he signed the deal.
Correct.
So, we're talking about June of 2019, and here we are more than 15 months later, and he's having to apologize to the team after, 15 months after signing a $100 million contract. That's pretty astounding when you think about it. And then
no question,
a couple of days later, he's talking with the coach and team leaders, and then within 6 days of both of those meetings, he's benched. So that's messy, Josh.
Sal, did you get the impression that there was some pressure on Coach Peterson by maybe some of the players that, he's not playing well, and we all realize his fall has been unprecedented. I mean, I just look at the tape. Obviously, I form my opinion, but if you look at just the pure numbers, go back to 2016, 16 touchdowns, 14 passes intercepted. His great year in 17, where he was an MVP candidate, 33 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. In 18, played 13 games, 21 touchdowns, only 7 interceptions. In 19, 27 touchdowns, only 7 interceptions. This year, 16 touchdowns, 15 interceptions. Poor play. No one saw this coming. Is there a feeling down there, the NovaCare Center, that maybe someone did see this? Was there an incident that can shed some light on what has happened? Was it the concussion last year? Was it the big money? Was the wide receivers? Was the offensive line? Is there any kind of consistent strand that says, oh, here's why he's had this big fall?
Well, those were a lot of questions, so let's take them one at a time.
We don't have all night, Sal.
The first one is, was there pressure on Doug Peterson from players? Clearly, there was. Clearly, it was apparent. Listen, I spent a lot of time with you. No one has taught me the game more than you have. And you always said to me, the eye in the sky
does not lie. Yep.
The eye in the sky does not lie, Sal. You probably tattooed that inside my brain 400
Yep.
times. And so you cannot lie to players, because players watch film. Players see the inadequacies. Players see problems. They know when a player is getting beat. They know when a guy is open and the ball's not coming to him. And there was somebody who broke down the Packers game, the first half of the Packers game, and Carson Wentz, his play, and texted me and said, he's lost. And it's pretty clear to me that after watching just a modicum of the tape, which I do in preparation for our matchup show, that Carson Wentz is not seeing receivers that are open. When he sees them, he doesn't pull the trigger. And many times, almost a third of the time, he's off target. He's off target more than any other quarterback in the league. And so if I'm seeing that, I'm just a reporter. If I'm seeing that, everybody in that NovaCare building who's watching tape is seeing it.
Sal, there's no question. And when a quarterback sits in that meeting room with his teammates, with his offensive line, running backs, and wide receivers, and you see plays called and designed where players are getting open, where receivers are getting open, and he's not getting the ball to them, there's, you can only mask that for so long. Sooner or later, the quarterback has to make those plays, or you end up where we are right now. I went through that Green Bay tape, and on Monday morning, and for the first time, I said to myself, it's time for a change. I love Carson's talent, his ability, but it's about performance. Performance dictates if you stay on the field or not. And the one thing about, pro football, there's a standard. There's a standard that you have to live up to, not only at the quarterback position, but every position. And if you don't meet that standard of the coaches or the team you play for, you're going to get in the mess that Carson has got himself into. And, after I looked at that tape, I go through every tape, the route design, where the ball should go. And I said, he's not seeing it. I mean, there was a play 3rd and 10. It was a split safety look by the Packers, and he stayed on Alshon Jeffrey way too long. They double covered him. You get off him in one step. Your job is to find the single covered receiver or the open receiver. And as our friend Merrill Hodge would say, it's not that hard playing quarterback. You throw to the open receiver. But to get to that receiver, you must process information, and you must process information quickly. You have at max 3.1 seconds to get the ball out of your hands, and it should be out in 2.5 or less. So you have to process information quickly. And he just wasn't seeing it, Sal. He wasn't going through the progression. Now, he wasn't a total stiff, but he wasn't making the plays that presented themselves.
But, Ron, it's been happening for well over 2 months. It hasn't just happened. It has been happening for a long time.
No question.
Channel 6 asked you and me and Dick Vermeil to do a piece about whether Carson Wentz should be benched. It was 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago. And both you and Coach Vermeil said, no, not yet. And I said it was time not to bench him permanently, but to give him an opportunity to just take a step back and see what he can, see if he can reconfigure his confidence, 1. 2, take a different perspective of the field, a different view of things without the pressure of the game, and allow him just the opportunity to hit the reset button. Now I feel like the pressure was put on Doug Peterson to make this move because it was just so obvious, like you said, he couldn't any longer stare it in the face and say, hey, that's something that we can tolerate anymore, because players were beginning to really question him. And that's why after the meetings last week, he had to make the decision if Carson Wentz did not improve in the first half, or else I believe, my opinion only, he would have lost the locker room if he didn't do that.
As we've said, the players are looking at that tape together. Other players are being coached up. They're being coached hard. And maybe the quarterback wasn't. And players can sense that rather quickly. And if you have to have a firm hand when things aren't going well. Here's a concern.
So I want to ask you, I would like
Sure.
to ask you a question, because there's no one's opinion that I admire more or follow more, is, okay, now we got the end of the season and Jalen Hurts is going to be the starting quarterback against the Saints. The Saints lead the NFL in defense in total yardage. They're a well-coached team with Dennis Allen. Their secondary, I think, is very underrated. They get after the quarterback very well. What would you do with Jalen Hurts beginning in this game in terms of design for Hurts and this offense, knowing that you have deficiencies on the offensive line, knowing that you're playing one of the better defenses in the National Football League? I don't know the answer. I'd like to know your answer.
Well, I don't know if there is a perfect answer. I can tell you what I think should happen. And I am concerned, number one, about Jalen Hurts getting the start. And I love his talent. That's not even the question, Sal. This young man can throw the football. He's mobile. But in this year, this era of the coronavirus pandemic, he has missed so much learning time, that time in the offseason after the draft, that time in training camp when you work on the nuances of your craft, that time to work with the hints, the indicators of your wide receivers, the time to learn the game in preseason games. He's had none of that. He's had a very small volume of offense that he has to work from. I think that it was time for a change. I'm just hoping that Jalen Hurts can play up to his talent, because the time frame he's had to prepare isn't very long. It's going to be a small list of plays. Even the 3 snaps he'd been getting for most of the season each game, it was a small sampling of plays, Sal. And you mentioned it. This Saints defense is very, very good. They give up few yards, few points. They can play man-to-man. They can play zone. They are a good defensive team. It's not the kind of defense where you want to throw out a rookie quarterback with a struggling offensive line. So, I don't expect great things from Jalen Hurts on Sunday. I just don't. I think it's a bad matchup for him. And maybe to a certain degree, Doug was waiting for a better matchup to make this change so he could put a quarterback out there that'll be a little bit better prepared to play against a top-ranked defense. So I'm not expecting a lot out of Jalen Hurts. But, Sal, you and I talk all the time. And I believe this team all season long has lost their equilibrium. They throw the ball at a rate of 68%, fourth most in the NFL, and you got a running game that's the fourth best in the league, but they decide not to run the football at just almost 5 point yards per rush, yet they don't run the football. And you got to protect your quarterback.
Well, you do. So here's what I think that people should understand listening to this show. This show is very popular. People listen to this show because, you know what you're talking about, and I'm honored to be on the show. I think people need to go into this game reducing their expectations. We're not looking for greatness. I repeat, important, asterisk, underlined, italics. We're not looking for greatness in the first game from Jalen Hurts. We're looking for competence. We're looking for a guy who will not throw it to the other team. We're looking for a guy who will not fumble the football. We're looking for a guy who will move the chains and then, given the opportunity, will get the team into the end zone. That's really the baby step that you can expect from him in this game. You're absolutely right that this is the first time this week, starting today. Today was the first time that he had first string reps with the starters in practice for any length of time.
Yeah. Sal,
so here we are in December,
right?
And he's finally getting practice with the first team on offense. So let's just reduce our expectations. And people are like saying, a lot of people have said to me, well, maybe if he plays well, we can trade him in the spring. I mean, that's just nuts. Maybe if he plays well enough, we can move on from Carson Wentz. All that kind of talk about what's going to happen in 2021 is really misguided, in my opinion. Let the guy go out there and play a competent, effective, productive football game at the quarterback position. If he does that, it will be the first time the Eagles had that all season long. Let's get that.
Sal, let me ask you a big picture question. Now, we've been focused on the quarterback situation.
I just tried to reduce the lens. I just tried to focus in on the little picture, and you went right to the
because Sal,
I just wasted my time talking.
Sal, having you is never a waste of time. Your information is invaluable. However, when I look at the big picture, now, we focus on the quarterback. It's a heartbeat of the football team. All those things are probably true. Not because I played the position for 17 years at the NFL level, but it's true. That's where everyone focuses on. But what are the ramifications of a $60 million salary cap hit when the salary cap is going to be less next year because of the income to the National Football League? How can you pay other players? So the ramifications of this are massive in building a football team. You won't be able to sign guys that you need to sign. You won't be able to pay bonuses. You won't even be able to pay some of the players, that are worthy of being paid. So the ramifications of benching a quarterback that has so much money guaranteed are huge. How do the Eagles dig out of this hole?
And that's the reason why Doug Peterson has been so he's been loath to make this decision, because he knows the big picture is so dangerous in 2021. He knows he's afraid to gamble here, because he knows gambling with this kind of financial future could kill this team long term. So, he just waited too long to make this decision. And now they have a couple of weeks to figure this out. I don't know the answer to that long term. I would ask everybody to just do this. Take your foot off the gas pedal. Don't worry about what's going to happen in 2021. Let's first figure out whether Jalen Hurts can be a great quarterback, not whether he can lead this team to several victories and maybe steal a playoff win. I want to see a guy who throws it to the open guy, Jaws.
And there have been open receivers. You're right, Sal.
Oh, Jaws.
You're right.
There have been open receivers. I want to see a guy who has, and players can see it. Come on. Everybody on the team can see it. They watch the film. They watch it. That's all they do. There's nothing else to do in a pandemic but stick the tape in
Right.
and watch it over and over and over again. Why in the world would you think that Kelsey and Brandon Graham would have a meeting with Doug Peterson, say we have to have accountability at every single position because they were tired of looking at it? Yep. So
Sal,
now, let us just take our foot off the gas pedal. We love this team. Doug Peterson, in my opinion, absolutely must stay the head coach of the football team.
I agree 100%.
It would be the wrong thing to do to fire him. It would be the wrong thing to do on many levels. He needs to be. Doug, has he waited too long to make this decision? In my view, in my opinion, my humble layman's opinion, yes, he waited too long to make this change. But that's only because Doug Peterson is a great leader of men, and he didn't want to abandon Carson Wentz. But now he's in a position where he has to do both things at once. He has to try to develop a little bit of Jalen Hurts without ruining the confidence long-term of a player that he's married to in Carson Wentz, both psychologically and financially. And who else is going to be able to do that? You want a revolution? Let me see the plan. I mean, who's else is going to come in here and be able to do that next year other than Doug? So it's the wrong thing to fire him because he won the Super Bowl and he was in the playoffs for the last 3 years. And two, he's the only one who can really fix this. There's no one else who can come in here and fix this. You said it. Wentz is going to be on the team next year. People who say, well, you're going to develop Jalen Hurts and then you're going to trade him in 2021, that's insane.
Yep.
Anybody who knows how it works knows that you're not going to be able to get what you want for either one of those guys, not unless something crazy happens.
But Sal, this is what happens when you're 3-8-1. This is what happens in Philadelphia. This isn't Charlotte. This isn't Indianapolis. People have an incredible passion for this football team.
Absolutely. It's our way of life.
Yeah.
And listen, Doug brought the Super Bowl here with a backup quarterback. There's only been 4 head coaches that went to the playoffs the last 3 years straight. They are Belichick with Brady, Reed with Mahomes, Sean Payton with Drew Brees, and Doug Peterson with a revolving door at the quarterback position, and won the Super Bowl without his left tackle, without his middle linebacker, without a starting quarterback. And people who want to fire Doug Peterson are way off base.
All right, Sal, we've got to get to a break, but I can't thank you enough for joining us and giving us some incredible insight onto the Philadelphia Eagles' present quarterback situation. That's why you are great, Sal Paolantonio. Thank you so much, Sal. You are awesome.
All right. Stay positive, test negative, Josh.
All right, Sal. I'm testing negative, and I am very positive. Sal Paolantonio, thank you so much. We'll return with the Ron Jaworski Show with Jeremy Maclin, Alfie Jones, right after this.
I always said it's like family here.
RK Chevrolet does it right. With the Chevy employee discount for everyone. The Chevy price you pay is what we pay, not a cent more. New 2020 Silverados up to $8,465 below MSRP. New 2020 Equinox $27,900. $27,900. And every new RK Chevrolet comes with RK coverage, no charge.
Family owned and operated since 1982.
RK Chevrolet does it
right.
RK Chevrolet of Vineland.
Make you.
First of all, Trey, welcome to the show.
Jaws, man, thanks to be here. And let me just say, your show is on a precipitous decline in terms of guests. If it's Vermeil, Manning, and Wingo, you got to pick this thing up, man. You're going in the wrong direction.
That's a trifecta that'll beat anyone.
I love Philly gets the worst rap ever. Look, yeah, sometimes people go overboard. That happens, and you certainly maybe happens more in Philadelphia. But Philadelphia will shoot you straight, and they can take it straight. That's what I love about Philly sports fans. They're not soft. They're not snowflakes, for lack of a better term.
There you go.
It's like, how dare you insult me? No, if they think it sucks, they'll tell you. We think it sucks. You know, and and you can say, yeah, and this sucks, and they're like, yeah, you're right, it does. So Philly is the most honest sports town in America.
Yeah. Since we're on Philly, and you know, it's been a rough week for the Eagles. It's been a rough week. It's been a rough season for Carson Wentz, and quite honestly, I let my opinion be guided by the tape, and he has not played a good game all season long.
Nope.
He maybe had average games against Pittsburgh and Baltimore. Other than that, they've been subpar performances by a guy that has incredible talent, just incredible talent. And I look at the tape, and I can't give the answers. And I've played the position for 17 years. I can usually figure a guy out what's going wrong. I can see what's going wrong, but I can't figure out how his regression has been the biggest I have ever seen. And I came in this league in 1973 from a quarterback with incredible talent, a huge $128 million contract, which the Eagles are very careful, in giving the money away like all the other teams are. They felt he was the guy. And it's been a shocking drop. How do you look at it as someone who, in that draft, the Eagles moved up to get Carson Wentz. You knew all the lobbying they did to get him, the movement they had to make, the trade with the Browns, all those things to get in position to draft him. How does a guy fall that quick in that short of time?
Yeah, it's interesting because I still think the potential is there. And Josh, you know this. Any quarterback can look humble if you hit him enough, right? And I'm not – look, Carson has played bad. Let's just be honest. He's played bad this year. But there are reasons for that some of them we can ascertain. I think the game on Sunday was his 10th straight game where he's been sacked at least 3 times. I think he's been sacked over 50 times on the year. David Carr, the first pick ever of the 2002 draft and the first ever pick of the Texans, basically was shot after his rookie year when he was sacked 77 times. I don't care who you are. If you're getting like Sam Darnold last year in a Monday night game got grilled for I'm seeing ghosts. Any quarterback will see ghosts if you hit him enough. I mean, the 2015 AFC Championship game between the Patriots and the Broncos in Denver, Tom Brady got the crap beaten out of him in that game. And, it was so bad that the Patriots made Dante Scarnecchia, one of the greatest offensive line coaches in NFL history, come out of retirement.
Good.
I always get exactly what I'm looking for when I go to RK. RK does it right.
Save thousands on our new lineup of winter-ready vehicles at RK Kia. Lease new Kia Sportages from $198 a month, $198, or get 0% APR financing for 60 months. Every new RK Kia comes with RK coverage, no charge, during the Command the Season event.
Family owned and operated since 1982.
RK Kia does it
right.
At RK Kia of Vineland.
And they went on to win 2 Super Bowls after that. So that's part of the problem. Like you watch Carson now, he hesitates because he's like, okay, am I reading this wrong? Am I going to get hit again? But you're right. He hasn't played well.
Yeah, and Trey, some of those wounds are self-inflicted. He's holding on to the football. That's why,
correct.
I hate to make judgmental decisions right after a game because television doesn't show you everything. It certainly does help. And I like to look at the tape. And there have been opportunities. In the matchup show when you, Merrill, and I used to work it.
Yep.
I got a question for you on Merrill in a second, but that's always fun.
Please.
That's always fun. But
that's a 30-minute top. That's a 30-minute off ramp.
Yeah, there've been just some situations with Wentz where the play calling's been good, and he hasn't gotten the ball out of his hand, and that's why those self-inflicted wounds and the cumulative effect of all those hits begin to impact you. So hopefully he can work his way through it. I think the guy's got enormous talent, but it's going to take a lot of help to get his mind right.
Yeah, but Jaws, that won't happen until the offseason, right? Yeah. Like there's a macro and the micro for the Eagles right now in 2020. The macro is rebuilding Carson Wentz. That won't happen until we have a real offseason and we go through all of that again. The micro right now is can you salvage a season at 7-8-1 and potentially win a division? And you might have to do that with Jalen Hurts going forward. One of the highlights of my entire career at ESPN was the first real outdoor draft in Philadelphia. Because, they did in Chicago, they did it indoors, and then we did outdoors for the last day. But they went full on that year, right outside the Art Museum in Philadelphia. That might have been one of the funnest 3 days of my entire career because it was the first time we realized, wow, this thing might really work outdoors pre-pandemic. And the Eagle fans were great. I remember an Eagle fan showed up with a sign, and it just said boo. B-O-O. Like it doesn't matter. It was no context. He just had a sign that said boo. And the crowd was going nuts. And I'll never forget on the Friday night, round 3, day 2 of the draft, the Eagles were making their 3rd round pick at about midnight. And there were over 100,000 people still out there. And they broke into Fly, Eagles Fly. And we just shut up. And we stopped the draft. And the NFL stopped the pick from being made. And they just let the song play out until it was over. And I was like, this is fun. this is really, really fun. So that year, 2017 in Philly, God, that was a great thing.
Yeah, that was a quantum leap for the NFL, and I'm honored and privileged to be a part of it because I chaired the host committee for Philadelphia to bring the draft to Philly, and had numerous meetings with Commissioner Godell at the time. You know, they certainly after Chicago, which did a great job, they were hampered by bad weather the second year there, and it really hurt the attendance. And in Philly, it was like 70 degrees in end of April. It was like crazy, and 250,000 people showed up, and it was a big block party. And most importantly, no one got arrested. Not one.
Yeah.
Which,
I will say this.
So that's correct, but no one got arrested in Philadelphia with 250,000 people. It's hard to believe.
Joss, I will say.
I always say it's like family here.
RK Chevrolet does it right with the Chevy employee discount for everyone. The Chevy price you pay is what we pay, not a cent more. New 2020 Silverados up to $8,465 below MSRP. New 2020 Equinox $27,900. And every new RK Chevrolet comes with RK coverage, no charge.
Family owned and operated since 1982.
RK Chevrolet does it
right.
RK Chevrolet of Vineland.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Ron Jaworski Show. And yes, we are coming to you live from 7 Tap Tavern at the Ramble Country Club. A very special thanks to our sponsors, Bradford White Water Heaters, Carl Pinto, and all the fine folks at Bradford White Water Heaters, built to be the best. And out of my good friends at Miller Lite, Mark Kramer, Brandon Dalton. Kramer Beverage does it right, man. Yeah, they're even in the house tonight. We like that. They got these very special festive holiday bottles, very, very nice looking. And sitting up here with my buddy Coffee Jones, does analytics for me, stats, watches tape, gives me all this good information. Coffee, how good was Sal, man?
Sal was awesome. I mean, you can't get inside like that. You can't pay for that. You got to know somebody.
Sal is the best. I mean, he is absolutely the best. I consider myself very fortunate to have worked with Sal, still do, over 25 years. And man, the guy just worked his butt off, gives information that is second to none. Just awesome. I mean, Sal, the things he brought to our attention, and obviously a lot's been going on with Carson and Jalen and everything else happening with the Eagles. But Sal gives us really, really quality information. I can't thank Sal enough for spending a half hour with us and, giving our audience the information that everyone's looking for right now, because it's kind of a mess down there at the NovaCare Center at 3-8-1. And hopefully with 4 games to go, maybe it can get turned around. But boy, it's just been somewhat of a mess, as Sal called it. It's just a mess. But hey, maybe we can turn this around and all be positive. My next guest is a former Eagle, was the #1 draft choice in 2009, pick number 19, played with the Eagles from 2009 to 2014. Went back and visited Andy for a while in Kansas City with the Kansas City Chiefs in 2015 and 2016, and ended his career with the Baltimore Ravens. Good friends of everyone here in Philadelphia, and just an all-around great guy, Jeremy Maclin. Jeremy, thanks for joining us here on the Ron Jaworski Show.
Ron, man, thanks for having me.
Good. Hey, always good to hear your voice. And here's I'm going to ask you some coaching questions, because there's an Eagle team in turmoil right now. 3 years removed from the Super Bowl championship, a couple playoff wins, and everyone's getting a little nervous right now. And you're a coach. You're coaching Kirkwood High School over there in Missouri, so you're dealing with players. And when you look at it's kind of been, some of the players have gone to Coach Peters and said, hey, you got to hold all the players accountable, not only linemen and wide receivers and running backs, but the quarterback as well. So you as a coach, when you're coaching your team, and are there any guys that you treat differently than other players?
It's Coach Cully, right? Coach Cully was my wide receiver coach in Philly when I was there, and in Kansas City for a little bit. And the one thing he always used to tell me was, we live in a world where everybody gets treated fairly, but it doesn't necessarily mean everybody gets treated the same. And I think that's very important in life in general, because when people have a history of doing certain things, maybe they'll be given more opportunities to succeed at or whatever it is they're trying to do than somebody else who hasn't proved that they can do it yet. And that's just kind of the way the world works. with everything that's going on over there in Philly, man, it sucks. I hate to see it. But at the end of the day, man, this is a business, and business decisions have to be made. And and the more of the story is, there's still there's still a chance for those guys to make the playoffs, man. So you have to do everything you need to do to kind of kickstart the team. That's not a knock on Carson. I still think Carson is a franchise quarterback. I think for him, man, I think he's pressing a little bit. I think that if you go back, I think it was 2017. He's probably the MVP if he doesn't get hurt, right?
Yep.
And then Nick leads him to the Super Bowl. Then the next year he gets hurt, right? And now Nick's playing in the playoffs again. And then last year he has a wonderful season, right? Kind of the same similar situation where everybody's talking about weapons and this, that, and the third. He leads them to the playoffs and he gets hurt. So I think for him, man, I think he might be pressing a little bit. I think because in Philly, I think there's a lot of Philly people that say that was Nick Foles that won that Super Bowl, which we all know this is a team game. But at the end of the day, you're judged by how well you play in the postseason, and everybody, especially at the quarterback position, right?
No,
and unfortunately
no
for him, he hasn't been able to even be on the field to do that. Yeah. So I think everything's kind of caught up to him. I think from a mental standpoint, and I think Doug is making the decision that he feels is best for the football team right now. But with given the contract and everything that's going on, I don't think there's any doubt in my mind that he's not the starter, at least for next year. But I guess we'll see how everything pans out.
Yeah, I mean that's really the area that is really wide open right now. Jalen Hurts gets to start this week against the number one defense in the National Football League, New Orleans Saints. So it's not like he's getting some slappy team that can't play defense like the Dallas Cowboys. He's getting statistically the best defense in the NFL. And in this pandemic era, and this is what's kind of bugged me about a lot about the NFL this season, is guys like Bill O'Brien in Houston and Matt Patricia in Detroit and Dan Quinn in Atlanta. They got fired. Because their team didn't perform with the world turned upside down. And Jeremy, you've played in different organizations under different coaches, and everyone treats players differently. Yet the guy loses his job because it's crazy. You can't practice together. You miss games. If you're Vic Fangio of the Denver Broncos, you're playing a wide receiver as your starting quarterback, and then you're held accountable to a standard that shouldn't be right. And as I look at Jalen Hurts right now, he got drafted in the second round by the Eagles. Yeah, whoopee. Everyone's great. Hey, you got a solid quarterback situation. Got Jalen Hurts backing up Carson Wentz. All of a sudden, the pandemic is, going crazy. You can't come into Philadelphia. You can't spend time with your coaches. You're Zooming. There's no training camp. There's training camp, but it's not really training camp. There's no preseason games. And all of a sudden, you're the backup quarterback getting a package of plays for each game. He's averaging 3 plays a game. Now, all of a sudden, you're the starting quarterback. It's a whole different world. I mean, what should the expectations be for a guy that's been in that situation where he really hasn't learned the entire offense, and now you face the best defense in the NFL?
Yeah. I think for the outside world, I don't think we can put expectations on this game for him. I think it's whatever inside that organization, kind of whatever they expect him to do. Everything you just said holds so true. This is year 2020 is going to be clearly one for the history books. But I mean, you just don't know what's going to happen, right? We nobody envisioned us being in this pandemic right now. Nobody envisioned anything that's happening, the election, everything that's going on right now, right? Mm-hmm. This has just been a really odd year, and a year I thought that I would never witness in my lifetime. So I as a fan of the game and as a supporter of the Philadelphia Eagles organization, I'm not putting any expectations on Jalen Hurts. I want to see him do well in this game. I want to see the Eagles win. I'm still rooting for these guys. I got a lot of friends on the team still. But for me to sit up here and throw a stat line out there or do this and that, I'd be doing him a disservice, and I'd be having unrealistic expectations because I don't necessarily know how this is going to pan out, and it's not fair for me to judge it because of everything that you mentioned before you led into this question. It's just such an odd year and such a weird situation right now.
Jeremy, I appreciate your comments on that, but You know Philadelphia.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Come on. You lived here
Oh, yeah.
6 years. You lived over in West Deptford, New Jersey. I used to see you hanging out at Riverwinds over there, running your football camps and things you were doing. You know these fans. You know what the expectation is. They think Jalen Hurts is going to come out there and be the next Patrick Mahomes. That's just the way we're wired in Philadelphia.
And you know what? You know what, that's great. And you know what? And if he does it, and that's what he is, that's awesome. But it's just, like I said, it's just tough. And at the end of the day, I look at it from a different perspective. And I played the game for 9 years. I've been a student of the game. I've been a part of it. I understand how the business part, side of it works. I understand how the average NFL's mental work. Everybody's different, but at the end of the day, we all experience a lot of the same mental challenges, right? But it's tough. And like you said, right? These defense, that New Orleans defense is pretty damn good.
Yep.
So they got an extra week to prepare for him now. They know he's a starter. They're going to game plan for him. They have limited film, right? Hell, I guarantee you they're going back and they're going to watch some stuff that he did at Oklahoma and Alabama as well, right? That's just,
no doubt.
That's what professionals do. So, like I said, I hope he performs. I hope he performs really well, and I hope they get the win. But it's going to be tough, man. The NFL is tough in general, and now you're going up against no one defense in your first career start. It's going to be tough.
Jeremy, let me ask you about Andy Reid and the Kansas City Chiefs while I have you here. Because, you played for Andy, in Philly. You end up ending your career, late in your career with him in Kansas City. And I watched, not only the Kansas City Chiefs, but today's NFL, it's expanding and growing with formation variation, motion, personnel packages. I mean, it's a throw ball game right now. When you were in those formative years with Andy, did you ever sense his wide open style of offense being developed?
Yeah, he was it was kind of moving that way. I think you can say he was kind of the pioneer for this, because it's still shades of the West Coast, right? But it's just taken to the 10th power now. The different formations, lining up guys in different spots. But now you're doing it with the fastest man in football, right? In Tyreek Hill. You're doing it with the best tight end in football. That's no slight to all the other good ones out there. I think Travis is the best tight end in football. And then you're doing it with, who could go down as the greatest quarterback of all time, right? I remember I was there when he first got there, and I'm watching Mahomes just throw the football, and I later got released by Dorsey. By voicemail later on that year, but that's a different story.
We got to talk about that at another time, right?
I'm watching him throw the ball, and I'm like, it was a little sporadic. But I could see it though, and I was like, he is going to be really, really good. And 2-3 years later, he throws for 50 touchdowns and MVP, and another year later, he's winning the Super Bowl. Like, that's how good this you could see it. And when you have that, and you have the mastermind like Coach Reid, and what he can do on the offensive side of the ball, and then you add Doug, who has a great mind. Nagy had a great mind. Now EB, right? He has a great mind. And collectively, these guys are coming up with all these formations and putting these guys in spots to where, they're literally playing games with defenses. Mm-hmm. And people fail to realize that, you have Tyreek, you have Travis, right? You got the running back from LSU, and people fail to realize, a number one receiver they have over there, been hurt a little bit, but it's Sammy Watkins. He's another guy who's pretty damn good himself. So it's endless for them what they can do over there.
Yeah, there's no question. Andy's now that mad scientist that Mike Martz was, back in the day of the greatest show on turf, and it's kind of a fun team to watch. And I also, have great respect for Andy's development of a quarterback. And you mentioned, you saw Mahomes, you knew he had great talent. You know what? He sat his butt on the bench behind Alex Smith. He learned how to be a pro. You hang around Alex Smith, you learn about the game. You're not going out there having to win football games. You're learning how to be a pro. And I think there's such a rush to judgment, Jeremy, in the NFL right now. Is you draft a guy, you get him on the field. He's going to be great. Man, it's a learning process, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And that was a luxury for KC to be able to. I think they traded up and got Mahomes at 10, if I'm not mistaken, or somewhere in that area. And to have him sit behind Alex and just learn, like you said, learn how to be a pro, learn how to, study the game. I believe Mahomes came out with was doing an interview and said he just learned how to read defenses. He didn't even know, what he was looking for. He was just out there just throwing the ball. Hey, you're open, I'm going to throw it to you.
Yep.
So I think having him learn from Alex, learn the system, and not be in a rush to go out there and have to do it right away. And I think sometimes with these young quarterbacks, man, I think that could really mess with your psyche. And there's some situations that examples I can bring up. But I think that really messes with your psyche. And that's a lot of pressure on a sometimes 20, 21-year-old kid, right?
Yep.
So,
oh yeah. Yep.
I mean that was the perfect storm. That was a perfect situation. That was a perfect send off for Alex. That was a perfect leeway in the pack. And they're going to be good for an extremely long time, man.
You are listening to the Ron Jaworski Show with my very special guest, former Eagle #1 draft choice, 19th pick in the 2009 draft, Jeremy Maclin. And Jeremy, when I'll switch back to this Eagles versus the Saints game, and in studying the Saints, they play about 60% man-to-man coverage. Pretty high percentage in today's NFL, and I think that will help Hurts in this game. Because if you know what man is, hey, pick a guy, let it fly. Zone teams give you a lot of different looks, and being a rookie in his first start, he'll get different looks. That's just, they'll try to rent Space's mind, but knowing that primarily they want to play man to man, how do you expect Doug Peterson to attack that defense with a rookie quarterback in his first start?
I think they'll try to give him a lot of easy throws, a lot of timing throws, right, to start off. I think they'll move him out the pocket a little bit. Some bootlegs, some nakeds, some sprint outs. And then I think RPOs, man. RPOs. Give them some run pass options. That way, if they do pop a single high zone on you or something like that, now it's a basic read. Hey, if the linebacker triggers, you're throwing it right behind his ear. If he stays, you give it. And just kind of let him get comfortable. The one thing that's going to happen, that's going to have to happen, and his receivers are going to have to create space. I think Hurts being back is huge. I think that'll help. Goddard's another beast. I like the receivers, but it's tough, man. When if D-Jack is healthy, it's a different story. If Alshon's all the way healthy, it's a different story. That's no slight to any other guys. I think Rieger, as he gets his feet wet, I think he'll get more and more comfortable with what's going on out there. He made a big play down the field the other day. I'm really excited about his future. I think he's a talented guy with the ball in his hands for sure. I think everything else is going to have to come to him. But I think those guys just got to create separation. That's running your route to the correct depth, getting in and out of your breaks, shoulders over toes, and just winning your one-on-one matchups. That's what this league has turned into.
I love that football talk. Shoulders over toes. I like that, Jeremy.
Yeah. It's how can I put my guys in space to beat this one-on-one matchup?
Are you teaching those RPOs over there at Kirkwood High School now in Missouri?
You know what? RPOs, that's what you need in high school, man. If you can run a good RPO, you actually shred defense.
Oh, man. Well, hey, I really want to thank you for joining me here on the Ron Jaworski Show. And I know you've got your foundation, your J. Mac Gives Back Foundation, and I appreciate the good work you do for the kids in your community. That's really good work, Jeremy Maclin. So
appreciate it, man.
So much.
Always,
man.
Anytime you need me, I'm here. Whenever this COVID stuff, gets under control, I got to come back. I got to play some of the golf courses out there.
Oh, yeah. We'll get you on the golf course. Got to get you back. And note for our listening audience, it's at J. Mac Gives Back, your foundation. We appreciate you coming on and joining us here and breaking down the Philadelphia Eagles. So appreciate you, my friend. Be safe, and hopefully we'll get on the golf course. Jeremy Maclin joining me here on the Ron Jaworski Show. Thank you so very much. And it's about time before we wrap things up. I've got to make my prediction. Coffee, you're shaking your head, man. You're making me nervous.
We've been talking all week, Josh, so we understand what it looks like, and I know where you're going.
I'm waffling.
You're an honest man.
I'm waffling back and forth, but I'm going to go New Orleans Saints 28, the Eagles 17. That's where I'm going. 17. So Jalen Hurts will not get a win in his first start as the Eagles quarterback, unfortunately. But who knows? I've been wrong many times before. And those of you that are regular listeners to the Ron Jaworski Show will be coming to you live next week from the Valley Brook Country Club in Brian Westbrook will be calling in. He'll be our guest next week. So that'll do it for the Ron Jaworski Show. Thank you for listening, and we'll talk to y'all next week from the Valley Brook Country Club. Be safe, everyone.